So you were sick, huh? Well, why don't you take some Claritin to get rid of that fucking shit coming out of your nose? Or if you got a fucking headache, why don't you take some Aleve? Knock that shit out. Why don't you take this? Why don't you take that? Why don't you go to the fucking doctor, get you a prescription? You'll get better then, yeah. Just don't give me whatever the fuck you got. Get the fuck away from me, piece of shit. As you know, I'm running a little behind on videos this week because I came down with a cold. Now, I'm pretty sure it was the common cold, rhinovirus. I kind of turned it into a little bit of a self-experiment. Now, one of the things that we've always done when we got a cold is we go right down to the fucking, pharmacy and we load up on fucking decongestant, sinus headache fucking medication, all of these fucking over-the-counter fucking pills, and they're getting pricier. I don't know if you've taken a look lately, but, we're talking for like a 5-day supply, you're paying like damn near $10, $12, something like that. $8 or $9 for the pain pills. It just starts to add up, when you're on a budget like me. You just like, do I need it? And so I'm sitting there and and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, what happens if I don't do a fucking thing? And I ended up working through the weekend. I had 2 film shoots that I was participated in. I worked at the bar, so I was busting my ass all weekend. And I decided that, okay, I'm going to bust my ass over the weekend, just plow through this illness, and then take Monday and just lay in bed, watch documentaries on Netflix and watch YouTube and take naps and sleep. And I ate. I didn't fast. I'm fasting today, but I just wanted to let the illness run its course. And but as of course there's people in my life who wanted to, like, you want some Claritin, you want some fucking, Aleve, you want some medicine, you should go to the doctor. You've been sick almost a week now. Meanwhile, the rhinovirus then generally takes anywhere from 7 to 10 days to resolve itself, regardless of what fucking over-the-counter pills you stuff in your face. And, the best case scenario, if you were to go to a doctor, is they'll give you a prescription for an antibiotic, which really doesn't do shit except maybe fuck you up more and kill some of the beneficial bugs that you have in your system and completely turn your gut microbiota upside down. And when you think about decongestant and what it does as far as your mucus. Now, what is the mucus for? The mucus is your body's way of getting rid of the offending agent. It's a byproduct of the inflammation that's caused by the virus coming into your body. The immune system is attacking it, and part of your defense is the mucus. And I don't know if you noticed, but you get this phlegm, and you get this fucking snot coming out of your nose, and that's grabbing all of that virus, and then you're ejecting it by coughing, sneezing, blowing your nose. Your body is pushing out the problem. And when you take a decongestant, you're kind of slowing that process and maybe opening the door for continued infection. Maybe your cold will last a lot longer if you're on these medications, which are not designed to cure shit. They're designed to alleviate symptoms. That's the business model. The pharmaceutical industry, even in the over-the-counter realm, isn't dealing in cures. It's dealing in treatments of symptoms. So you have to keep that in mind whenever you're confronted with this. Should I go to the doctor? What are they probably going to do about this? Now, this is just for the cold, and I see so many people that are quick to run to the doctors and quick to run to over-the-counter medications for something as simple as the common cold. And you got to ask yourself, am I treating the symptom or am I treating the root cause? Obviously, we don't have a way to stop the common cold. There's no cure. It just happens, and you let it run its course. Same thing with the flu. You can get your flu vaccines. I haven't had the flu in a really long time. This was definitely not the flu. But, I'm not a fan of the flu vaccine. I haven't had a flu vaccine in years and will probably never get one. But that's my personal choice. I'm not saying that's a choice everyone should make. It's just my belief is that I'm better off just letting my immune system do its fucking job without trying to pharmaceutically enhance it in any way. And then dealing with, if I do run into a problem where I get the flu or something else, then I go and I'll deal with it in the appropriate way to try and cure it. But at the same time, there's things that we do when we treat the symptoms. Like, for example, you get a headache. What's the first thing you do? You take a fucking headache pill. In my case, Aleve is the only pain medication that reduces my headache, gets rid of my headache. But it's not really getting rid of your headache, is it? There's a root cause to that headache. What caused you to get the headache in the first place? That's the question you should be figuring out. For example, you go out and you get fucking shit-faced. An experience I've been well acquainted with over the years. And then the next day you're dehydrated and you have a fucking massive hangover-related headache. Should you run to the cupboard and load up on pain meds? Fuck no, because then you're going to tank your fucking liver. There's been research that has shown that is devastating to your gut health is taking, Aleve. Or any of these other pain medications will cause you havoc, cause other problems. They may get rid of your headache in the short term, but all it's really doing is lessening your sensitivity to whatever is causing the headache. It's not getting rid of the root cause. And our entire medical system seems geared towards treating symptoms and not curing the root causes. That's why they don't give a fuck about diet. And all of these chronic metabolic diseases that we're just going to give you the Band-Aid. Oh, you got diabetes? Well, here's something to control your blood sugar, which is a symptom of diabetes, not a root cause. And, they're going to do all of these things to put little Band-Aids all over your fucking illness without actually curing your illness. You want to know why that is? Because there's more money in that. There's not a lot of money in cures. If you don't get sick and you're perfectly healthy, you're not contributing to the financial industry in terms of health. The healthcare industry isn't going to benefit from you. If you're not getting obese, the diet and fitness industry isn't going to benefit from you. And you got to keep that in mind when these places are telling you, look, you need to do this. And, that leads into the next thing that we need to think about. In this message I got kind of ties in a little bit. It's about diet, but it also could be applied to the advice that your friends and family will give you for just about everything. Kay Allen wrote on my Australian Medical Association wanting to take down the Magic Pill video. I watched The Magic Pill and have read Tim Noakes' books. And I got a little bit to say about Tim Noakes before we go. and watch Dr. Finney and Dr. Westman's video. There is one topic I feel that needs to be addressed: the way people in your life try to sabotage you. I am getting this and would love to declare war, but doing so comes at a high cost. Am I stuck being that crazy lady forever? Any ideas on this? And, and the reason I bring that particular comment up in this scenario is, you got to understand there's a huge amount of propaganda, of misinformation, of just being everyone around you is being bombarded with this, and it's feeding into addictions. It's feeding into the dogma of the day, not only in terms of diet and and the ketogenic diet being bad for you or out there, and I see it all the time, and people fucking with you for that, because they think that you're doing it wrong. They think they're doing it right, you're doing it wrong. And it's not until the shit hits the fan for them are they going to change that view. Because they're not going to put faith in what you're doing versus what the experts and the assholes on TV and the media and the doctors that could give a shit about nutrition have maybe taken one class, if that, in their entire fucking medical education about it. And they're all telling them the standard fucking guidelines of health, and you're stepping outside those standard guidelines when you're on a ketogenic diet, for example, or like me, when you have the fucking cold and you don't take a motherfucking single pill, and you're doing these things, and a lot of the times they mean well, even if they're really hardcore giving you shit. It's usually for two reasons. Either they mean well, or you're making them feel bad for their bad habits. And those are the two things that are going to happen. And people are defensive, and they generally want you to do what they're doing. Because whenever you step outside that bounds, socially, it makes people uncomfortable one way or another. And they're going to either respond by trying to make you uncomfortable, or they're going to try and help you do it like they're doing it because they believe that what they're doing is the correct way. And that's why it's hard to escape this fucking fat is bad dogma, you need to go and take fucking decongestant when you're stuffed up, that this kind of here, this is how you do this. And this is just because we've been pelted for our whole entire lives with this information. Fat is bad for you, so you shouldn't eat a ketogenic diet. We've been told fat is bad for us since I was a little kid. And so you're asking the people around you to ignore what they've been told their entire life and somehow treat what you're doing as normal. And that's just not going to fucking happen. It's getting better. The information and our connectedness and people who are realizing that they're not healthy and they want to do something about it, and that what we've been doing about that has, not worked for the past 40 to 50 years, and that maybe they want to try what you're doing. And that's the point where you'll meet people halfway. And, as I was sick and people were confronting me, well, you need to go to the doctor. You can fucking die. You might have pneumonia and shit. And I was like, no, I've been through this before. I know exactly what's going on. I'm coughing up phlegm. It's straight up. I'm not even super stuffy. I'm just a bit stuffy. Part of that's being on the ketogenic diet. You don't produce as much mucus to begin with. So why would I take a decongestant when I'm already not producing a lot of mucus? And part of that is because I'm not as chronically inflamed as I was on a carbohydrate-based diet. And I even had somebody go so far as to say, keto doesn't cure everything, asshole. And the fact of the matter is it's since I've been doing this research for the past 3 years and experimenting on myself and stepping away from what everyone tells you to do, in different situations, it really has led to me questioning everything when it comes to health, including what to do when you have a cold or what to do when you have a headache. I find that when you have a headache, one of the reasons is usually dehydration, and I'm pretty prone to that, so I drink lots of water. It takes a lot for me to take a pill nowadays. I mean, and I used to be all about the pain meds and all of that shit, but I have to be really fucking miserable and really, really sick before I consider even going to a doctor, before I consider, and I'm not saying this is the right thing to do, it's just saying it's where all of this has led me, to just kind of let my body do as much as it can before I resort to the healthcare and pharmaceutical industries. And that's going to be that wave going forward for me. I don't see myself becoming a regular visitor to a doctor, and because of that, I'm not a burden on the healthcare industry at all. If it's something catastrophic, or if I am really getting sick and I'm not getting better and I'm constantly getting worse, then I would absolutely go to a doctor and see what I can do. But I would still be asking the question, okay, doc, you want to put me on this pill? What exactly does this pill do? Is it a treatment for my symptoms, or will it cure me? Are you just pounding antibiotics on something, hoping that we nail it? Or do you think that it's a specific thing, or have some lab result that says, hey, this is it, this is the antibiotic you use for that? Because I'm very leery of antibiotics because of what I've learned about gut health and what antibiotics can do to that, and the fact that we've been overprescribed those, and I'm really not a fan of allopathic medicine anymore. Of the let's give them a pill. There's a pill for everything, because we've gotten away from the naturopathic and homeopathic areas of medicine, where there might be alternative ways of treating things. I realize that makes me like a fucking hippie to think about these things, and that I'm stepping outside that box that everyone around me is being told to do, and when you do that, the people in your life are going to come down on you. Or sabotage you, as you said in your message there. And that doesn't mean that they're bad necessarily, or that you should go to war with them. I stand your ground. Don't cave in. I find, as far as the ketogenic diet, and when people challenge me on that because I'm so educated on it, and because I've been doing it for so long now too, I've got 2 years now of mostly keto with maybe cheat days or some carb cycling in the beginning of it. But I've been running on ketones for a while now with no problems, with good energy, good health. Recently had the blood work, and that was all good. And I'm finding that I'm happier. I don't like being hungry. I don't like dealing with all of that shit, and all of that's been resolved. The mood stability, actually, I've noticed lately, even though I did have some bumps in the road when I reintroduced alcohol, and I'm still doing that with a 2 to 3 drink limit. I've been actually hitting the 2 drink limit a lot more than the 3 drink limit. So I've actually reduced that. And still been social, had a good time, and did all that. But since, that initial problem that I came into where my mood stability did fuck up a bit, that's since leveled out. It's a matter of gauging where you are at in your journey and what you're willing to do. And if you've gone on a ketogenic diet and you've seen massively great, excellent results, and everyone around you is trying to sabotage you, then you can use that to tell them they're wrong. I mean, you can say, with me, I can say, hey, do you remember when I was 255 fucking pounds? Do you remember what I was like back then? Because that's what you're trying to do to me right now. Do you want that for me? When you're shoving that piece of pizza or that sugary shit in my face? And you kind of use that, use your progress to kind of keep the naysayers at bay. Because a lot of the times, people that are coming at me about the diet are clearly having health issues. They're either overweight, obese, they're hungry every 2 hours, they get exhausted easily, they have, some, issues in terms of they start to get tired, they start to get a little lethargic. There's all kinds of little things that a lot of people get used to when they're eating a shitty fucking standard American diet. That they don't even really see as symptoms, and the only way they're going to see it is if they ever step away from it and realize that we're not supposed to feel that way all the time, that there is a healthier, better way of being. And it takes such a long time to fat adapt, with the 6 weeks of strict keto being the baseline before you even really start to notice any benefits, not to mention keto flu and all of these other things that people run into when they transition, that just they say fuck it and they go back. Or they're one of those, hey, I gotta go on keto to lose weight, and if they don't lose fucking a shit ton of weight in the beginning, they're like, well, fuck this, it ain't working. When it's more of a long-term thing, it's more of something, it's a lifestyle, it's a change that will provide you benefits over a long period of time. And it might not even be perfect. It might not get you to rock hard abs or whatever, but it'll make you feel good. It'll reduce your hunger. It'll eliminate diabetes practically. It will, it has all of these benefits that, to me, I could not picture going back to a standard American diet, because I don't want to go back to feeling like shit. I don't want to go back to being tired all the time, to being miserable, to being hungry every 2 to 3 hours, to not being able to think clearly, to being depressed, to being highly anxious, to, all of that emotional roller coaster that I left behind when I came to this way of eating. These really rock bottom depressions that I used to have back in those times have significantly improved on a ketogenic diet. I get a little down here and there, but I don't get into the pit of fucking hell that I used to get into when I was on the standard American diet. And you just got to kind of, when the people are coming at you, if you want to argue with them about it, you can just say, well, how do you feel? How many times are you hungry? Are you hungry every 2 hours? I love using that one. Hey, well, you might be eating that way, but guess what? In 2 hours, you're going to be hungry again. And sure enough, 2 hours later, they want a snack. And they know it. When you point that out, they realize that, hey, I ate 2-3 hours ago and I'm hungry again now, and I'm giving this guy shit, but meanwhile he hasn't eaten a fucking thing all day except maybe a cup of coffee, and he's doing fine. He's perfectly functional. He's not miserable. He's not thinking about food. He's not, these are all things that you can point out that will kind of prove your case, that they really won't be able to give an answer on, and educating yourself is the other thing. Be able to spout off the facts about the diet and what it does and the immense life-changing benefits that you can get from a ketogenic diet. And intermittent fasting, same thing. There's a lot of science, there's a lot of facts, but ultimately, I've been intermittent fasting for 3 years. So when someone tries to talk shit, I'm like, well, I'm not dead. I'm not emaciated. In fact, far from it. I'm healthy. It helps me. I'm not ravenous when I do it. I do get hungry occasionally, but not nearly the way I did on the standard American diet. And, it has its benefits. I've lowered my set point over time. It is what it is. But people want perfection, and they want it quick, and they know that if you go on Pound the Fuck Master and you eat 800 calories a day, you're going to lose all of this weight very quickly. You're going to look and feel great until you stop doing it. And I've seen so many people get into that cycle. Oh, I'm going to eat healthy, so I'm going to eat low calorie. I'm just going to eat salads and shit. And then I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm just going to, and the weight comes off, sure enough. and they look and feel great. Got the endorphins from the exercise. Everything's going well. Then something happens, maybe 6 months down the line, 7 months down the line, where they can't make it to the gym as much, or they're just ravenously hungry all the time, so they can't stick to their low-calorie diet anymore. And they go back to eating. Even if they just go to eat maintenance calories, they start to regain the weight. Because that formula is, in my book, that's disproven at this point. We've been doing it all these years while all of our fucking obesity has been climbing, diabetes is climbing, all of these problems are going up, despite this eat less, move more mentality, which is still being preached to us on a daily basis in the mainstream media, and most doctors and nutritionists are still on the eat less, move more, that we're fueled by carbohydrates, that if you eat fat, you're going to die. Saturated fat is the root of all evil. Animal and red meat shit is bad for you. And these are all things that are just being thrown at us constantly. And some people don't have the stamina to go out and fucking research or learn how the body works. And they just take what the media and the doctors and the nutritionists are throwing at us as gospel. And what the government wouldn't lie to us, would they? They've got these guidelines and shit. They wouldn't bullshit us. No, that's the guidelines. I'm telling you the right shit because, goddammit, the fucking guidelines said that. And that's just not the way it works. The guidelines aren't motivated by public health. Are you kidding me? They haven't been motivated by public health ever. They're motivated by money. They're motivated by feed the masses, to keep people happy enough to not be pissed off. That's how it all started. We wanted to feed everybody. We didn't want any famines. So we had to make cheap-ass food. Only problem is, in order to make cheap-ass food, you have to make less real food. You have to use processed food. You have to industrialize it. You have to add shit that's not food in there, but does technically give you some calories. But you're going to be hungrier because you're not getting the right food. So you won't die as quickly because you're not starving to death. But over time, we're seeing the results of that paradigm, that let's feed everybody, even if it's not high quality food. And it's only going to get worse as our population goes up and our reliance on processed foods to feed that population will rise. But so will our chronic disease, our obesity, and our healthcare system's just going to collapse eventually under the weight, so to speak, of our eating habits and of our food system. I wish I could get on here and come up with some ideas, a solution. I think if we all shifted to an organic farming situation to where, we didn't rely on monoculture crops, we didn't subsidize corn and high fructose corn syrup and all of that shit, and where we subsidized real food and motivated our farmers to go to a more natural, grass-fed organic farming model, to where we don't just produce one type of food or one crop from a farm. The farmers are just doing what pays the bills, and if the government's giving them a huge profit margin on corn, then they're going to fucking fill their fields full of corn. But if we were to take that model and move it towards something a little healthier, I would say that they'd probably change what they're farming and their practices. We're nowhere near fixing this anytime soon. A lot of people have woken up. A lot of people are going to keto as the way of eating, but they're not, we're not quite mainstream, and the media is pushing back. They're putting out like articles that this diet's bad for you long term. Like I hear somebody, I have people come into the comments and they're like, keto may be good short. This is the latest fucking argument, by the way. Keto may be good short term, but long term it's not good. Well, based on what? Show me a fucking link. Prove to me that long term keto is bad for you. Because I contend that that's the way we ate prior to agriculture. We were ketogenic. We weren't getting a whole lot of fucking carbs. We were getting some carbs, yeah. And occasionally we got a lot of carbs. Occasionally we would carb cycle when fruit ripened, if we had access to fruit, which a lot of cultures did not because of their location. We are omnivores. We eat what's around us to survive. And when, meat is scarce, when fat is scarce, we turned to plants. We turned to try to get fucking food and calories from whatever we could, to get energy from whatever we could. But for the most part, the most calorically dense, the most nutritious foods were meats and fats. Now, that's going to trigger vegans all over the place, and I'm sorry for that, but it's true. If you eat a lot of plants in a diet, more than likely, and you're doing the low-fat bullshit that is preached, you are not getting enough calories. You're starving, and you're going to be ravenously hungry the whole time. And you're going to need to eat a whole lot of roughage. And it isn't until you get enough fiber built into your system that you'll get full. But you're still not getting enough calories to support all your activity. If you eat a lot of fatty meats, you're not going to have that problem. You'll achieve homeostasis. That's why the ketogenic diet's so satiating, is because you're meeting your energy needs easily. And it's over a long period of time. Like, meat doesn't get digested quickly. Fat doesn't get digested quickly. Fat cycles in and out. It's available energy. So your body's not going, fuck, what do I do? Whereas if you're on a high carbohydrate, low fat diet, you are relying completely on your blood sugar levels, which are up and down, up and down. Every time it goes down, you're hungry. That's your body's response to relying on glucose exclusively for energy. Whereas a more natural approach is to rely on fat for energy. That's why we're so good at it. If we were meant to just live off of glucose and carbohydrates, and that ketosis was a starvation diet, we wouldn't be able to do it. It's not a starvation diet. It's how we're designed. We're designed to store fat and use fat. And if we could not produce ketones, if we could not rely on our fat stores for energy or on them directly in our diet for energy, we would have died off easily. Long before we figured out how to put some fucking corn in a field and make bread and shit and feed, eat grass essentially. I mean, there's a lot to talk about on that topic as far as of agriculture and whether or not we benefited or, because there's two sides to the argument that are very compelling. But I'll get into that in another video. I just want to say that not everybody who's giving you shit is doing so maliciously. And, just try and educate as you go. Don't let them talk you out of your shit, unless you want to be just like they are. If you want to, take a look at the people talking shit to you and their health. Not necessarily their weight even. Just how healthy they are. What are their depressions like? What are their energy levels like? How often are they ravenously hungry? Are they going to drop dead every 2 hours? You ever see that? Oh, I'm going to eat. I can't. And you'll know it because they'll be talking about how they got to eat. When there's plenty of shit going on, they'll be telling you how, it's time to eat. Why haven't we eaten yet? We need to go get something fucking eat. Come on, it's time to eat and shit. Come on. Why aren't we eating? I'm going to choke you if we don't fucking eat right now. You're not going to see a keto do that. Oh, you're going to see, maybe I could eat, but I don't need to yet. Fuck it. Maybe 8 hours goes by and you're just like, it's almost dinner time. But I got this going on. I can wait. Whereas a carb burner, or a standard American dieter, if they go 3 or 4 hours without eating, they're going to let you know that they haven't eaten. Because that's on their minds. That's what they're thinking about. Food. Give me fucking food. Getting the shakes. Get the fucking food already. Whereas a keto is like, The fuck's your problem? You just ate 3 hours ago. How the hell are you fucking hungry already? You ate fucking 2,000, 3,000 calories 3 hours ago. And you're hungry again? What the fuck? That's the things that you point out when they're talking shit. At the same time, don't get into arguments. Don't take it personally. You know, don't get upset. Don't dissociate yourself from them. Give them a little bit of shit and move on. And, you know, if they're pushing at you, then you just give them these little things that they're doing that you can point out that are a result of the way that they eat, that they won't be able to really argue about. And that's how you kind of level the scales. But don't let the social pressure, or even because some of it's going to be hard. You're going to have family doing this to you. You're going to have friends doing this to you. If you've got kids, they're going to be miserable with you. It's not easy. I'm not saying this is an easy thing to deal with, but you're going to be pressured into shit. Straight up. That's how it goes. So I spent a lot of time on that email. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is Tim Noakes. Not fucking guilty. So for those of you who may not be familiar, I think most of you should be by now, Tim Noakes was put on trial because he tweeted that a baby should be weaned onto a low-carb, high-fat diet. And as you can imagine, this pissed pretty much the entire medical industry of South Africa off, not to mention that the world's eye was on this trial. And there was a lot of big food industries and a lot of big pharma industries trying to figure out how to take Tim Noakes down. We just seen it recently with the Australian Medical Association and their attack of the magic pill. This was by far worse than that. And not only once, but twice. See, first they found him not guilty, then it was appealed, and now they found him not guilty again. So essentially what happened in South Africa is the ketogenic diet, also known as the Banting diet, because Banting obviously wrote the book on corpulence or whatever the fuck it was way back in the early 1900s, which was essentially a ketogenic, high-fat, low-carb diet. And that's pretty much one of the things Noakes is kind of famous for, is reversing from being, you need to eat carbs, fucking, because he's treating runners, the high carbs. He was all about that. You need carbs to run and blah, blah, blah. And The Lore of Running, I believe, is the book he wrote. And he says now he regrets writing it because he was wrong. And we need more motherfuckers to be able to say, hey, I was wrong, and this is the way it is. If you haven't watched that trial, I'm going to link to it again in the description of this video, but you should. It's a 12-hour saga with probably the most comprehensive lesson in nutrition that you will ever get by a respected scientist. Tim Noakes has won awards for his scientific work. And, he is not, there's nobody that's saying he's a bad scientist here. They'd like to, but he's flawless as far as the papers he's written and the things he's done. And so he's definitely respected in the scientific community. And he really brought it during that trial. So much so, I was wondering, how the fuck are they appealing that? I mean, that was probably one of the most detailed fucking, I plan on rewatching the whole thing again just as a refresher on things. That's how in-depth and comprehensive it was. And not only in the terms of the diet and health and the proof that we have now of the efficacy of a low-carb, high-fat diet, but also the corruption that's gone on and the problems in the current scientific dogma and the medical, and how we should be changing it, and how our policies and our, the things that we've been doing, not only have they not been working, they've been detrimental. And that we need to really fundamentally reform our thinking on nutrition and dietary guidelines. And the reason why this trial was so important was because it essentially was the ketogenic diet on trial. You know, Tim Noakes was just the scapegoat. They wanted to hang him out to dry. They wanted to shut this shit the fuck down twice. And they got their pee-pee spanked. And that's, you know, if it holds up in a court of law, you know, if the ketogenic diet held up in a court of law, in a medical court of law, no less, I would say that makes it pretty fucking safe, wouldn't you? Makes it a nice, healthy way of eating. So that's huge news that twice they came after Noakes, and twice he won. And that's pretty strong in terms of proof, because believe me, if they had any way to take him down or to take down the ketogenic diet or to prove that it was wrong, that was their fucking opportunity to do it. And maybe they failed because they were incompetent, I don't know, but I would think that with the amount of big industry that had a vested interest in him falling for that, in him going down, and they put a lot of effort into it, that they would have been able to, if there was some way of debunking the high-fat, low-carb diet, that they would have been able to do it. And they would have done it, because they weren't going to let that shit fly. Because now that he's been found not guilty twice, that leaves them with, he wasn't wrong on the diet. He had scientific evidence that backed up just about everything that he said. He didn't have a patient relationship. It was, just a Twitter comment directed in a generalization, not in a specific manner. And he was not guilty of any wrongdoing. But that trial, if you haven't watched it, block out a day or two. Or, every time you're taking a shit, watch the next part of that trial. Eventually you'll get through it, depending on how regular you are. I just wanted to point that out. I was very happy when I heard this news. And, it's just one more thing in our court. The ketogenic diet is becoming more and more accepted. And we got to keep up the momentum, because there are interests against it. We have the plant-based movement doesn't like it because we obviously rely on a lot of animal products and a lot of fat and meat. Yes, you can be a ketogenic vegan, but it is a very big pain in the ass, and any vegan will tell you it's not a fun way to be a vegan. But at the same time, they realize that the bulk of keto entails meat and fat, particularly fat. And a lot of the vegan fucking evangelists are telling you can't have fat. That all fat is bad. You gotta eat low fat, high carb, lots of fruit, lots of veg, and that's it. There even some of them are saying not as much nuts, not as And I've looked into the vegan world quite a bit lately, and I see a lot of infighting on raw vegan versus processed vegan versus this vegan versus that vegan. Should you cook your shit? Should you have lots of nuts? Should you not have lots of nuts? And the vegan diet is very difficult in terms of getting everything the body needs. And if you're not vigilant, you can, over the course of 8 to 10 years, have serious consequences on a vegan diet. Not to say that that's the case for everyone, but you have to be a bad motherfucker with the supplements. You have to know what you're doing if you're going to be a long-term vegan. Otherwise, you're going to run into that 50% dropout rate for health reasons. Because you missed out on something. You didn't supplement correctly. And, if you have to supplement in your diet, I would say that it's probably not the best diet. But obviously they do it for ethical concerns. And I respect that. If you want to be a vegan because you don't want to harm the animals, but that doesn't mean you get to tell everybody around you to be a vegan. All right? It doesn't entitle you in that way. The bottom line is whatever diet works for you. Do what you want to do. It is the way it is. I do not like the vegan diet. I would never recommend it to anybody. But at the same time, I'm not telling you can't be a vegan. And I ask for that same level of respect towards my diet. Don't tell me I can't be a keto. Don't tell me I can't eat meat. Don't tell me I can't eat fat. Big, huge portion of my diet is meat and fat. I'm more towards a carnivore spectrum than I am the keto spectrum. I don't eat a lot of veg. I eat nuts. I have some chocolate. But you're not going to tell me how to fucking eat, because you don't believe a certain way. That doesn't make it that what I'm doing's wrong. You might think so, but who the fuck are you? That's my point. You don't get a right to tell me that I can't have meat and fat, just like I can't tell you have to eat it. I can't tell you to not be a vegan, and I wouldn't. And that's the kind of where the breakdown in respect goes in that realm. But anyways, this video is getting a little long, so remember, I'm not a fucking expert. I'm just a fucking asshole. And, don't just follow the shit that I say. Learn. Get out there and learn. There's plenty of people passing on information. And figure out what the group is saying, not just the individuals. And I think you'll find, and also look at some of the opposing viewpoints. Look at the challenges. How do you answer those questions? How do you answer the negative aspects that are thrown that way? Like someone says something's bad about the ketogenic diet. I want to hear it. I want to know so that I know how to fix that. A lot of my process over the past 3 years has been, okay, it's working pretty good, but there's this problem. And then I go figure out how to fix that problem. It was with intermittent fasting when I first started out. Intermittent fasting's working great, losing all kinds of weight and shit. You can even go back, watch I lost fucking 46 pounds eating junk, which is by far my highest viewed video. Gee, I wonder why. But I was fucking way off back then in terms of philosophy, in terms of what's really healthy. But, the problem I was having was I was hungry all the time and I would binge eat. And, these were all issues. So it was working pretty good, but how do I not be hungry all the time? How do I not binge when I eat? How do I not have this massive weight fluctuation or the weight regain? These were all things that I was like, well, how do I fix that problem? I want to keep all the other shit that I was already getting just by intermittent fasting. And that's how I ended up on keto, is I wanted to treat those little issues. And you can refine your shit that way, your diet. You can refine it to what works best for you. If you have a minor problem, but you're getting a lot of benefits from something, then just try and focus on that minor problem and the possible causes. You feel like shit on a ketogenic diet. Well, what could be causing that? Well, electrolytes or dehydration. Drink more water, take in more salt, take in more electrolytes. Problem fixes itself. Issues like that. I'm not losing weight on a ketogenic diet. Well, am I eating enough? That's the first question I ask when someone tells me, I'm not losing weight on a keto. I plateaued, I've been here for 11 months. And then you look deeper into it, and they've been going to the gym every fucking day and eating 1,600 calories. Well, yeah, your body's not going to lose weight at that point because it thinks you're fucking not getting enough energy to feed your workouts. It's going to drop your metabolism. And that's one of the things to think about. So how do you do that? Well, obviously, you feed your workouts, first of all. And maybe even go the other way, reverse diet a bit. Overeat. Go to the gym. Keep going to the gym if that's your thing. Not my thing. But get a little access. Don't be afraid to put on a few pounds. And I think you'll find you'll start to recomp your body in that case. You'll start building more muscle instead of fat, if that's your thing. So, there's all kinds of little things. You look at what isn't working about the diet for me and what can I do about it. And the knowledge is all out there. Everyone's run into that. If you're having a fucking problem, chances are somebody already had that fucking problem and fixed it. That's the great thing about the internet. It's one of the ways you can sort through the bullshit. So, if you found this fucking video enlightening or helpful in any way, you can go to ScottTheTruckDriver.com and leave a tip in the virtual tip jar. You can also go over to Patreon if that's your thing and contribute to the channel in that way, and it allows me to spend time making videos instead of doing other shit to make money, which I do a lot of shit to make money on the side. So there's that. Also, please like and subscribe and watch my videos. That also helps. If you don't want to contribute, just doing that is plenty to help. And share with your friends. Click the bell. Somebody told me the bell means something. I don't know. I clicked the bell. Doesn't seem to fucking make a difference to me. But you never know. Just to be safe, if you like my shit and you want to know when I put more shit out, maybe click the bell next to the fucking subscribe button. Just saying. I don't know. I haven't figured out how YouTube fucking works, because there's channels that I'm subscribed to that I want to see pop up regularly that never do, and then there's channels that videos I've already watched that pop up. It's a minefield, but hey, I'm just gonna keep doing what they say we should be doing until they change. So hit the bell if you like my shit. As for what happened with my illness, with not taking any medicine or anything, I went through hell. I felt like shit. I was coughing. I would be up late at night coughing, and then it just started to get better. And today there's a little bit of a frog in my throat right now. I haven't been coughing that much. Occasionally I'll cough up a loogie, and that'll be that. My voice is improving, so I am getting better. And it just took a little bit of time and some rest. I got plenty of sleep. That was the goal, because I knew I was up, the past couple nights waking up coughing. So my goal for Monday was to take the day completely off, sleep whenever I could, and try and take naps and all of that, and that worked out. So I anticipate over the next couple days being completely back to normal. My immune system took care of the shit, and I'm better. And that's that. Other than that, doing ADF. Might do a 3 or 4 day fat fast in the near future. I want to do something where I'm out on the road fasting, which might even just be a water fast, depending on the availability of fat. And that's where I'm at right now. So things are going well. Pretty much. Staying busy and shit. So have a nice motherfucking day. And shit. And it really trips me out when motherfuckers go to the fucking ER with a cold, and wonder why our hospitals are charging $150 for a roll of toilet paper. Can't imagine why that is.